Okay guys, let's talk about how to write a VSL for your 7-figure product launch, okay? And if you should even be using a VSL. So first of all, the first thing I want to talk about is what is a VSL? Like if you're new to marketing or, you've been learning, but you've come across this term VSL and you're not sure what it is. So let's talk about what a VSL is. So VSL stands for Video Sales Letter. So if you've seen a normal written text sales letter, it might say something like, "Dear friend, um, you know, um, I hope you are ready to jump into the new golfing, whatever it's gonna be." So it's gonna be like a letter, right, that you write to your email list or a direct mail list or subscribers in one way or another, and then you're gonna sell your product. So this is useful for e-commerce, for SaaS, for info products, coaching, that kind of thing. Now that's a normal sales letter. There's a version of that that takes away the text, and instead what you do is you simply go on video and you record that letter as an actual video, and that's called a video sales letter. Now the principles that apply to writing a normal text sales letter also apply to writing a video sales letter. Video sales letters don't need to be too long. It doesn't need to be like a 30-minute VSL. It can be anywhere from a 5-minute VSL to maybe a 15-minute VSL if what you're selling is like a high ticket thing. Now, if you're selling like e-commerce products and you want to portray the features in your product and how these actually help the end user, it can be a good idea to use a VSL, because what you can do is you can actually showcase video footage of yourself or somebody else using the actual product. And you know what they say? They say that a picture is worth 1,000 years. 1,000 words. And this is one particular case where that's the case. If you can actually showcase the product, right, then you can actually tell people like, okay, this is how I apply this lotion. This is how this particular perfume has been great for me. You can actually like feature the actual product in your VSL. If you're selling some kind of diet pill, you can actually have the diet pill in the picture with you, and you can show like, okay, these are my effects from using this. Like, if you're showcasing a particular type of shoe that's really nice, like you can actually hold up the shoe and you can actually say like, this is where it makes your walking very comfortable, that kind of thing. So a VSL is great for adding a visual aspect to your sales message. Now, let's talk about an actual framework that you can use, a simple framework, but an effective framework that you can use to write your VSL. So the framework I like to use is my own framework. So it's 10 Mutunhire's PSD-QQ sales framework. I came up with this myself. I haven't written about it, I don't think, in my latest book or anywhere, but I have put out some materials online about this sales system, and you can use it to write a normal sales letter, as well as to write a VSL, as well as to write other pieces of copy where you need to like sell something to your audience. So let's walk through PSD-QQ, which is it stands for, the P stands for problem, SD stands for solution design, and then you see at the end there are two Q's, like QQ. And the first Q stands for quantification, and the second Q stands for questions. So now let's walk through this sales framework and how you would use it to structure your VSL. So the first thing you do in your VSL, you talk about the problem. So let's say that we are selling a new type of dog food, a new type of pet food that's for dogs. It's a new compound, right? It's a new mix for big dogs. And we've created this because we've noticed that with a lot of the material out there, big dogs might fill up on the stuff, but they are losing muscle mass and stuff like that because the stuff is not nutritious enough. It might be okay for like smaller dogs, but it's not working for big dogs. So that's what we're selling in our e-commerce store, is this new mix that solves that. Like, it packs a punch of, you know, protein and all kinds of nutrients that are missing in mainstream dog food, that doesn't work for really big dogs. And so this solves that. So what's our problem? So that's the first thing we have to talk about in our VSL, is P is problem. Problem is, if you own a big dog, your dog is malnourished just because you're using regular store pet food, dog food. That doesn't work for really big breeds. So you're literally starving your dog because you're not feeding him the right stuff, and that means he's not able to protect your home. He's lethargic. That's why he's sleepy all the time, because you're not actually giving him the nutrients that he needs. So that's the problem. Really talk about the problem, and you can see all the different implications and, you know, other aspects of a problem, just so that the end user can actually understand them. So you need to really go in depth. Okay, so that's the problem, big problem. Now, how do we solve this? So that's the next piece, is part 2 of the VSL, is gonna talk about solution design. And in solution design, all you do is you describe what an ideal solution to this problem would be. For example, in the case of our dog food, it would be, imagine if you had a new type of meal for your dog that didn't take a long time to prepare, didn't require too much expertise for you. It could be something you get right off the shelf, but it packs all the protein and extra nutrients that big dogs are missing, which is utterly lacking in the mainstream dog food solutions. And imagine if this pegged, you know, this kind of nutrient that makes your dog explosive with energy, and it also pegged the enzyme Y that helps your dog be more alert. It also packs this nutrient that's good for your dog's gut. And by the way, we also need to make sure that this dog food doesn't contain dangerous chemical Z that is frequently used in dog food, and which is literally killing your dog if you are feeding your dog normal dog food, right? So now we've designed a solution that is ideal, because it picks the good stuff in the ideal quantities, but it doesn't have any of the bad stuff. And so that's an ideal solution. So that's solution design. At this point, it literally sells itself. Once you've designed an ideal solution, like, you've walked through why it's superior, because you've literally pointed out all the good things about it and how it does away with all the bad things in other alternative solutions. So now we can move on to the first Q, which is quantification. So what you want to do is you want to quantify both the problem and you want to quantify the solution, the ideal solution. So quantifying the problem could be, well, your dog is literally losing weight because of this bad diet you're feeding him. And this is gonna be costly in these ways. And also your dog literally you could be shortening the lifespan of your dog, and you know, no dog owner wants their dog to just die like that. So we've quantified the problem. Like, this is literally life or death for your dog, and unless you take action. So we've quantified. You always want to quantify it so that the buyer can make an informed decision, because now they know, like, okay, I can ignore this, but the actual cost is I could lose my dog one of these days, right? And then we also want to quantify the ideal solution that we just solution designed. So we can say like, well, what is it worth to you and your family for your dog to live an extra 5 years than where he would have ended up on that old diet? And that's a good way to quantify it, because we're talking about the impact on the dog's lifespan. You can do this no matter what you're selling. You might be selling a car, you might be selling some kind of fashion item, you might be selling real estate, you might be selling investments. Whatever you're selling, you can do this quantification process. Now we move on to the last part of our VSL, which is the final Q. And the final Q, as we said, stands for questions. So now what you want to do is the viewer has some questions in his or her mind as you've been making your presentation throughout this VSL. So they're literally asking themselves like, well, how much does this stuff cost? This stuff is going to cost me a lot of time over the long term. I mean, a lot of money over the long term, because it's like a premium solution, new diet. And how easy is it to prepare anyway? This stuff might be very complex. I don't have time to prepare meals every day for my dogs. I just want something off the shelf that I can use. So all these questions and objections that the prospect has in their mind, you now get to answer and to address in the final Q, which is questions. So you want to have a Q&A section at the end of your VSL. If you don't do this, there's going to be a lot of questions that your prospects have. And one thing that a common saying in sales is that a confused mind never buys, right? If somebody is confused, has unanswered questions, there's a bunch of stuff they're asking themselves and you haven't addressed them, that prospect is not very likely to buy. So you absolutely need that final Q at the end of your VSL to ensure that your VSL is super persuasive. And if you want some more resources to help you with your 7-figure product launch, you can grab some of my free resources. The links are in the description.